Skull bleaching with minimal effort on the cheap. I'm going to bleach this skull today. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm simply going to use hydrogen peroxide. First thing I have to do is clean my skull. Now, first things first, this is not a harvested deer. This is a deer skull that I found walking on my property. And as you can see, that is actual dirt. When I found the skull, there was no other bones anywhere to be found. Not a single one. So I'm leaning towards this probably coyotes. And the reason why there's no other bones is because everything got scattered and dragged away and consumed and whatnot. And that's why there was the only thing left was the skull. So very simple. I'm going to start with a bucket of warm water with nothing more than dish soap. So a soft bristle brush, an old toothbrush, so we can get right into the inside here. I'm just going to dip my skull in the bucket. And just give it a start lightly scrubbing. Now obviously if this skull was a harvested deer, I'd have to go through a whole process of defleshing and removal of any tissues, and then you'd have to boil it down. And luckily for me, I bypass all of that because, well, this was simply picked up off the forest floor. And when I found it, there was nothing left. There was not even so much as a smell. Alright, the initial brushing has been done. I'm going to let it soak in this soapy water for probably another 20 minutes. I'm going to give it another brushing and then going to rinse it off really good and move on to the next step. So as you can see, the skull has a lot of staining. It sat on the forest floor buried in hardwood leaves and debris, so it's very yellow. I rinsed it off really good and I refilled my bucket with some clean water, and now I'm going to add the peroxide. So I'm just simply going to drop my skull in here in the bucket, add my peroxide to this. I'm going to add the whole bottle. There's probably a gallon of water in here. And this is a 500 milliliter bottle. I see a bit of a reaction going on in here. Some time has passed, a lot of time has passed. Let's review what it looks like. I know it's going to need more work. So this is the next step to bleaching the skull. Which I'm not sure if bleaching is the right term because I'm not using any bleach. So let's call it whitening the deer skull. That stain right in the middle there, it's pretty pronounced still. It's really reduced from when I first started, but it's still there. So what I have is some Arm & Hammer baking soda. Just sprinkle some of that on. Just giving it a good scrubbing. This is going to be a lengthy process. I want to make sure I cover everything. Obviously, I've moved to the kitchen. This step of the process is going to be a rinsing. There's no need to be in the shop for that. I'm over the kitchen sink, and my skull still covered with that powder, which is the baking soda. So what I've done is I've created a paste. I mixed some water with the baking soda, and I scrubbed it on, and I scrubbed it thoroughly with an old toothbrush. Then I just let it sit, and then I went on the next day and I moistened it and turned it back into a paste, because obviously after a while it dries up and it looks like this, that it's all chalky. And I left it sit, and now it's been sitting for 4 days. So a good thorough rinse is next, and then I'm going to do an inspection after it dries. So let's do the rinsing next. Alright, it's looking good. But now is a good time to clean up the skull in the way of cut a little bits and pieces off, even it out, because I have to make it so that it's going to hang. So I'm going to be taking in consideration how it's going to look once it's on the wall. Let's do that next. So a wet skull looks very different than a dry one. Once I got this rinsed out and now the skull is wet, it has a yellow tint to it. So now I'll have to be patient and just let it air dry. I'm going to get back to this. I'm going to give it 2 days, then I'll have another look, and you'll be joining me when I have that second look, and then we'll decide what we're going to do after that. If we look closer to the skull, it's not gleaming white like you would see a skull that got sun bleached in the desert, nor is it gleaming white that you would get from using chemicals that you get on the internet. However, using two simple products, peroxide and baking soda, I achieved something very respectable, considering that this came off the forest floor. There's still a little bit of darkness around the eyebrow where the bone was deteriorated, and the staining got deep within the bone tissue, but the heavy stain that was right in the middle is completely gone. Let's do a before and after shot and see how well I did. I hope you enjoyed this video. Watch my others as well.